put your video off, feel free. When I get to the question rounds, I'll just, per my screen, I'll just call on people left to right as we need. Anyway, so we're going to call the meeting to order. The agenda is, as you see up on your screen. If I can have a motion to approve the agenda. Anyone?
I'll make a motion. It's Gil.
All right.
I second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Excellent.
Aye.
I wasn't at the last meeting, but I know Eunice did have the minutes out there. So if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, I approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Well, you make a motion to approve it. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now on to the self-advocate coordinator's presentation. Shannon, I'm going to pass it off to you to introduce the self-advocates.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. So I had approached the RAC to see if they'd be interested in hearing the annual report that our West Region self-advocate coordinators had put together and presented at a meeting in December for the commissioner and EMT in all the regions. And they did such a spectacular job, and they're such an intricate part of our region. I asked if they would be willing and if you would want to hear their presentation. So they have worked on doing a revised presentation specific to the West region. And I'm going to turn it over to them. I would love for you to meet them and actually see their faces. I know we were concerned about the internet, so maybe if that does give us problems, we can click off. But we have Jeremy Powell. Hi, Jeremy. We have April Perez. April, can you turn your camera on briefly? Hi, April. And we have Natasha Ho with us. Natasha, you want to turn your camera on briefly? She may be on screen too. Oh, there's Natasha. Hi, Natasha. And we have Tracy Pollock, who is our transition advisor, who provides technical support to two of the SACs. The other individual that supports our self-advocate coordinators is on vacation, so Tracy will help guide this through. So they worked very hard in putting a presentation and condensing it to the West region for you. So I'm going to turn it over to the group. Welcome very much, and thank you for adjusting your schedules, because I know this is a later than normal meeting for you, but we do appreciate it. Thank you.
And then Eunice, I was just going to share the screen.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to welcome our self-advocate coordinators. My name is Tracy Pollock. As Shannon said, I'm one of the transition advisors in the West region. Our 4 self-advocate coordinators, including Josie Torres, who is unable to make it tonight. So I will give you a little background on her. Josie has worked as a DDS self-advocate coordinator in the West Region Waterbury office. She started her position as a self-advocate coordinator in July 2005. Her focus area is employment, and she works in the IFS division with Tyrone Meconico. Passing it on to my colleague.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Jeremy Powell. I'm a self-advocate coordinator for DDS in the West Region. I had started my position as an advocate back in May of 2018. My focus area is public and internet safety. I work in the private division with Timothy Brazo, and I'll pass it to Natasha.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Natasha Cole. I work as a DDS self-advocate coordinator in the West Region, Taunton office. I started my position as a self-advocate coordinator in October 2019. My focus area is healthy living and Special Olympics. I work in the health service division with Ann Kimball. I will pass to my colleague.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Natasha. Good afternoon. My name is April Perez. I work as a DDS staff app coordinator in the West Region, Denver office. I started my position as a staff app coordinator in May 2024. My focus area is health relationships. I work in the quality division with dairy mycomatosis. And here is a map of the staff app coordinators statewide. In the South, we have Paige LeBrandy, Kayla Grabby, Shannon Flannery, Elida Starbo, and in North we have Shantae Taylor, Kevin Arcee, and Varian Salters. I would like to pass it to my colleague.
Thank you. Self-advocate coordinators. Self-advocate coordinators at work. A voice of the people making a difference. Legislatively supported what we do. Promotes self-advocacy and self-direction. Lead by example. Support regional and state activities. Spread the word. Self-advocates support the self-advocate coordinators support the voices of the people. They are 11 self-advocate coordinators statewide. The self-advocate coordinators are state employees. Self-advocate coordinators lead the department in making a difference. Self-advocate coordinators working together for change. Next, my colleague.
Thank you, Natasha. To take the pledge, the self-advocate coordinators have written the disability awareness pledge and challenge everyone to take the pledge. To reaffirm a commitment to seeing the person and not the disability. 601 pledges reported this year. All new employees take the pledge with on-board training. Over 7,260 people have taken the pledge. The self-app coordinators are challenging each one of us to be the change that makes a difference. Self-app coordinators are promoting all stakeholders to take the pledge and keep it moving forward. Would you please raise your right hand after me, please? Disability awareness and people first language pledge. I pledge to advocate and accept my responsibility to be respectful to the individuals I work with and for. To respect and treat all individuals equally, to call each person by their name and refer to them as an individual person and stop using the word client. To support surrogacy and stand up for individual human rights. To be an advocate for no more R word in my workplace and everywhere I go. To assist and make sure that each person that I work with can make their own choices, be part of a community of their choice. To assist and make sure that each person that I work with can make their own choices, be part of a community of their choice, and feel accepted to be themselves. I will use people first language, which means seeing the person and not the disability. Using words and terms that are easier for people to understand. To be an ambassador for self-advocates, speak up for people first language, and be the voice of the change that makes people's lives happen. To the best of my ability, I solemnly swear to live by this pledge. Thank you. Now I pass it to my colleague.
A transition in currently of July of 2023, self-determination joined the Individual Family Support Division. With this change, the Self-Advocate Coordinators has chosen a division to be representative. So in the Individual Family Support Division is Josie, Carol, and Varian. And in the private division is myself, Shannon, and Kevin. In the quality division, it's April, Paige, and Shantae. Health and service is Natasha and Elida. Divisional projects. Within the private division, I am currently working with our resource compliance coordinator doing site visits to our individuals group homes, CLAs to ensure that person-centered living is being met. And I'll pass it to April.
Thanks. I am involved in a work group to evaluate Connie, Connecticut's state designated health information exchange platform and provide feedback on it. I co-facilitating focus groups to collect information from individuals served by DDS funded qualified provider organizations to consideration by reviewing and updating DDS policies. Pass to my colleague.
Thank you. Creating a person-centered PowerPoint presentation on the health standards and guidelines for optimal preventative health care. Participated in the creation of an informational video for transition-aged youth on self-advocacy, self-direction, and self-determination. This will be used in presentations in schools around the state by the DDS transition advisors. Leadership. We lead the department in the Tracy, I can't read underneath the recording. We lead the department in working a difference. Family and mentoring leadership in collaboration workshops with CTFSN, hiring interview committees, promote community living options, promote people first language everywhere we go. Self-advocate coordinators are ambassadors for life course planning. Self-advocate coordinators facilitate human rights training.
That says this is the best song of the night.
This slide talks about education. Education. Self-advocate coordinators educate people in the community with disabilities in their self-advocacy groups at CTFSN workshops, FAB topic groups, and in recreation. I'll pass this on to my colleague.
Thank you, Natasha. Collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Southern New England for Healthy Relationship Series. The self-advocate coordinators, along with Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, teach individuals about safe and meaningful relationships. The classes are held virtually all year long, fall, winter, and spring. 11 classes are held each session. The information that is taught in the classes is simplified and easy to understand. Over 100 individuals have taken their course. All individuals who attend all classes get a certificate. Now I'm going to pass it to my colleague.
ATME. The Self-Advocate Coordinators teamed up with the Assistive Technology Division to assist in training individuals with disabilities statewide on using assistive technology that they'll receive in their book bags. The equipment includes a Chromebook, an iPhone, a hotspot for wireless internet connection, and a wireless headphone. The self-advocate coordinators educate individuals on how to set up and use the equipment, fostering independence for everyone that participates.
Self-advocate coordinators attend and participate in statewide and regional conferences and events. Upcoming conferences and events. Secondary Transition Symposium, CTFS and One Voice Conference, Autism Education and Awareness Forum, Tech Tools for Life Conference. Now I'm going to pass it to my colleague.
Thank you. This slide talks about committees. Youth Leadership Forum, interview panels statewide, CT-PI, Community of Practice, Innovative Assistive Technology, New Review, Advisory Board, Center of Love and Hope, Board of Director for CPM Day Program, Danbury Regional Center Building, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. I will pass it on to my next colleague.
Thank you, Natasha. Now we'll be talking about the fiscal year 2023, 2024 accomplishments. Self-advocacy. We have done many groups and events for self-advocacy. We have attended events for self-advocacy such as CTFSN, new provider training, and 18 Meet, and have given presentations revolving around said topics. We have also given honorable trainings to our newest workers to spread the word on respectful language and with self-advocacy. We facilitate 204 self-advocacy groups all over the state of Connecticut, with a total of approximately 2,753 participants all throughout the last fiscal year. We have also gotten 601 participants to sign the respectful language pledge last fiscal year. We also completed 9 success stories accounting the success of individuals, including our own self-advocate coordinators. Now I'm going to pass it to my colleague.
Self-determination and self-direction. We have about 2,110 people self-directing their services. Self-advocate coordinators did 20 presentations on self-determination. 7 of 11 current self-advocate coordinators use self-directed services. One self-advocate coordinator hired a new direct support professional. We created 12 virtual bulletin boards and presented 12 CTFSN presentations this year to approximately 100 people. I will pass this to my next colleague.
Looking ahead, the goals for the upcoming year of 2025 is to continue promoting advocates' voices by spinning and developing self-advocacy groups, continue working on our division projects within our own division, continue training new hire case manager staff, promote accommodations for our individuals, and education our individuals on their human and basic rights, promote youth leadership forum, train, be a role model, and support the youth leadership of Connecticut to become great self-advocates. We have a newly formed focus area, which is community empowerment. All self-advocate coordinators will participate in IB training, will facilitate a staff training for healthy relationships, will focus on peer-to-peer training and employment. We will have more conferences and events, including the People's First and Connect CTFSN One Voice Conference. And I'll pass it to Tracy.
And this is the contact information for anyone who is interested in learning more information. We have the self-advocate coordinators contact information as well as the transition advisors.
Thank you for joining. We will now take questions or comments you may have. You can raise your hand feature or type in the chat.
Thank you
Anyone?
very much. Wonderful job.
Yes, I want to thank all the self-advocates for attending the RAC meeting today. Very informative. Love the PowerPoint. What I'm going to do is just throw out. I'll start with Arlene. Any questions? You're on mute right now, but any questions?
No, I just thought your presentation was fabulous and I applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Karen, any questions?
I want to know, in all of the presentations, were there questions about social stuff for our kids? Like, because I know that used to be a program that DDS had years and years and years ago, but there's so many I'm an education advocate, there's so many of my clients that are really clamoring for, something on the social level in addition to vocational and everything else you're doing to promote social activities.
Thank you.
Well, I did notice the one person was involved. I think it was Natasha in Special Olympics.
Right.
So I think that would fall under the category of social.
Yeah, it does. But if the kid doesn't want to participate in Special Olympics, that's very limited. I mean, I don't know, social groups, kids. I mean, our kids want to be social. And that's why I think this format works, because they all get it. And, I know we don't want to get political, but, did somebody please inform Elon Musk about the R word?
Thank you very much for bringing up Special Olympics, Karen, because just to know, I'm I'm part of the Special Olympics. I have my own fit club, and on Wednesdays, and also I'm a Special Olympics coach. Thank you.
What
And
sport?
Natasha,
I didn't hear you, Natasha. What sport?
I do cross country skiing, and I do. Thank you. And I also won 2 gold medals in Austria, 2 gold medals, and also, and I do javelin and I do speed walking. Yes.
Wow, good for you.
Congratulations.
Wow.
And then I passed my CPR course. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
and
impressive.
Natasha, your fit group is somewhat of a social, I mean, although it's a focus of exercise, but did you want to touch base on that, Natasha? The membership of that group?
Yes. So my fit group that I do is on Wednesdays. I have individuals like signing up, and then they need permission from their doctors, and we have Fitbits, and I'm the coach. We do workouts and before we exercise, and also if they want to join, they have to talk to the case managers and also if they want to be on social media. Yes.
Okay. And where is that? Where does that take place, Natasha?
All the places, yes. The places is on Field Street, Energy and Fitness, and then Club 34. That is not far where I live.
Is
Both
that
in
on a,
Torrington.
is that on a
In
site
Torrington.
somewhere that we can access? How does one access it?
Oh, access.
How do we get in?
Oh,
Through
yes.
Natasha, I think Natasha with her email, right, Tash?
Is that
Yes.
right?
Email. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so maybe you could put your email on the screen somewhere so that I can take it out and tell. I've got a lot of people asking about social activities, and that one sounds good.
Karen, any other questions?
I do. Nope, that's it for me.
All right, so I think, Gil, questions?
I don't have any questions, but I think all of you did an excellent job. Very, very impressive.
And Mickey, any questions?
Finally got it unmuted. You guys were fabulous. A refreshing attitude, positive, all good. Best news I've heard for a long time. So I appreciate your participation here today, informing us. I think Marina might have more to say on it, but there's a rec group that get together socially here in Lower Fairfield County called Club 203. And I don't know if any of you guys are aware of that, but it's incredibly active and a real opportunity for adults who have intellectual disabilities to get together, have fun, dance, party, and all that other good stuff. So I offer that out there. And
Yeah,
as I
they
say,
just had a wonderful event yesterday. Was it yesterday, the day before? They had the karaoke at the Westport Library. That was so much fun.
correct. So that's an opportunity that's available. And I don't think there's any age limit once you're an adult, so you can participate. But again, you guys were so refreshing. I really appreciate your being here today. Thanks.
And Marina, questions? We see you're talking, but we don't hear you. We do not hear you now. I think I read your lips. This is the first time I successfully read anyone's lips.
Maybe you can use the chat, Marina.
Or maybe it's the volume?
It's probably the volume, Marina, on your computer. That you're unmute. Yeah, there it goes.
Oh, I just heard something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
There, all right. Yeah, there you went. I heard you.
Yeah. Oops, now you're.
No, that's your.
I'll do chat.
Oh, yeah, do chat because you're kind of fading in and out.
Yeah.
So, Karen, I left my email for you, and so on.
I've already taken a picture of that whole screen, so I will definitely give your email out to people that are interested. Thank you so much, Natasha.
You're very welcome.
Of course.
So the question from Marina is, well, first of all, you can read the chat, but I loved hearing all of your programs. Do you also respond when individuals have situations that they need help with?
Jeremy, do you want to take that?
Yes, we tend to help our self-advocates advocate for themselves in different situations. So it may be at a day program or group home. So we're able to help them navigate their feelings and what they feel during the day. And they also have program staff and program managers, but also we have a regional director, Shane O'Brien, who is very helpful in those areas as well, and helping our individuals advocate for themselves as well. We also have case managers, so there's different revenues for them to help them with different situations. But I think a lot of people don't know that the self-advocate coordinators do exist. And so we're just trying to promote that we are here to help and that we are the voice for the people that we support and serve.
All right, so I think that concludes Marina's questions. And once again, I want to thank everybody. You did a great job. Excellent presentation. Love the PowerPoint. It was straight and to the point. With not too many graphs and squiggly lines that we usually get. Typical that. But is there any other questions for last opportunity, and then we can have the self advocates get on with their day. All right. So hearing none. One final thank you, and you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, by the way, or you can move on. It's your choice. So Eunice, what's next on the agenda?
I'll open that back up.
My report. Well, I'm sure you read everything. Basically, the only thing I had to report was there is pending in the legislature, the House and Senate Joint Committee, a bill dealing with amendment to eligibility for a disabled adult child. You can see Eunice was nice enough to send out the bill, the tally sheet, where in the tally sheet, and Marina, you probably know better than I, because you've been involved with legislation far more than I have. I think the tally sheet is only an indication of how people are going to vote, but not an official vote. And everybody on the tally sheet said yes to the amendment that is being proposed. So if you're familiar with disabled adult child and Medicaid waivers in the state of Connecticut, we are in the state of Connecticut a 209B state versus a 1634 state. So as a 209B state, the state of Connecticut can set certain guidelines and rules as it relates to Medicaid eligibility. So, for example, in most other states, the resource limit is $2,000. In Connecticut, it's $1,600. In 1634 states, if you transition from SSI to SSDI, you keep your Medicaid benefits. You stay enrolled in Medicaid. However, in the state of Connecticut, it has this kind of odd circumstance where if you're on Husky C, what happens is you could potentially lose your Husky C benefit because you transitioned from SSI to, which is the Social Security supplement, supplemental income, to Social Security disability income. So now one of your parents has collected Social Security. You automatically flip from SSI to SSDI. You're getting 50%, or if the parent has passed away, 75% of their benefit, and it exceeds the income eligibility for Husky C. However, if you're on a Medicaid waiver in the state of Connecticut, the Medicaid waiver income limit is higher than the individual income limit under Husky C. So there's this chart, you'll see at the bottom of the thing I submitted to the legislature. There's this chart, and it's DSS's chart, and it's published every year. And it gives, it's a big chart about Husky C, D, and all the different income eligibilities, et cetera. And there's this little corner on the right-hand side. And if you're on a Medicaid waiver, you have a much higher threshold. In other words, if you exceeded that threshold, which you could potentially, if the disabled adult child worked, had a full-time job and was making decent money, then in that particular case, they would lose their, they would be off the Medicaid waiver, the income limit. They wouldn't meet the eligibility. So what it's meant to do is to close that gap and basically treat people who are not on a Medicaid waiver, but are a disabled adult child. And it only applies to disabled adult children. So if you were disabled after the age of 22 and you're on Medicaid, it doesn't apply to you. It only applies to disabled adult children. And so it's meant to treat people, disabled adult children, equally, the same across the board, whether you're on a Medicaid waiver or you're on CFC. Because what the impact is, if you don't get if you're not on a Medicaid waiver, which means you're probably not getting services from DDS, you probably have a diagnosis of autism. Your IQ is 70 or over, but you're on Medicaid and you're on CFC, you lose CFC. There's no more Medicaid, no more CFC. So that's the legislation. If you have an opportunity to reach out to your respective House member or Senate, and if you want to support the bill, feel free to support the bill. But so far it looks like the tally sheet, everybody is there is in favor, but I'm not quite sure. Marina, maybe you can, I don't know if you know, I don't want to assume you know the process, but I think the tally sheet is just an indication of how people are going to vote. And then the bill gets raised on the floor and then they actually vote. And then it goes to the governor for signature. That's my assumption, but not all that familiar with Connecticut's legislative process at this point. That's my chair's report. Any questions? Anybody?
What do we do to support it? Do we write to our
There you
state
go.
senator?
There you go. Yep, senator and the House rep. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you'll see I gave you, if you know the name of the person, or your senator or House rep, you'll see the tally sheet is attached and their name would be on there. Not their district necessarily, but just their names. Now, by the way, I don't know when it's going to, if it does pass and the governor signs it and all that. I don't know when it's going to be implemented. I think it's effective July 1, but there's more in the background, shall I say. It's easy to say, let's do this. But then I'm sure there's going to be regulations or how we're going to handle it. How's it going to work, et cetera. So I don't know if it's, July 1, they'll open up the floodgate, shall I say. It's not even a floodgate, by the way. It's going to be a small gate because it's just DACs, disabled adult children.
And what would be the pushback from people that don't want to do it? What's their argument?
I guess the argument would be that less money. In other words, if you have less people on Medicaid, you have less people on Medicaid.
Okay.
That's the only reason I could think of. But it puts us in line with almost every other state in the union. There are about six 209B states, Hawaii being one of them. Hawaii already has this in place, and Hawaii already has this in place. And I want to say another state also does not count SSDI or the bump when they get against the disabled adult child. And other states handle it a little bit differently. Some apply some of the increase. Apparently that's how some states, but it's like 6 states in the total union. So it puts us in line with all the others, with pretty much everyone else.
Yeah. You did a lot of research on this. It's 8 pages long.
I cheated.
Oh.
There's something called chat, there's something called artificial intelligence and chat GPT.
Okay.
But in addition to that, I'm also a member of the Academy of Special Needs Planners. And so
Okay.
I sent a little notice out to them, and there's a fellow in Oregon. I think, there's always somebody that knows a lot more than you, right? And so there's a fellow in Oregon, and he sent me this whole missive on 209B states. Then I verified it all. I did a chat GPT. Hawaii was the easiest one to access, and boom, that's how I did it. So it wasn't like I spent days on it.
It's impressive. I copied it out. I even did the chart.
Well, you'll notice the chart, right, Karen? You see the little lower right
I
hand
did.
corner,
I did. That's
Medicaid
what I was
waiver
looking
income
at.
limit.
Right.
Yeah, so
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
anyway, that concludes the chair's report. On to our esteemed and busy director, Shannon.
Well, good evening. Thank you. Align with what Charles was just speaking of. We are going to start sharing on a routine basis, and I'm going to share my screen. Eunice, is that possible with you having the agenda up?
You can try now.
Okay, let me just 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Central office has been apparently has been working on this document that will be coming out weekly. All the bills that DDS has a interest in, and will give you an update and a link. So when we get this on Thursday, we want to send this out to our RAC members. Everybody has their own interest in the different bills, so I think this is the best way to communicate the information. So there's several that are being highlighted. Looks like there's 5 pages. And we're going to get this out to you weekly, so you can click on where your interests are and get an update. I think this will be helpful. I know recently I had a meeting with the Lower Fairfield Parents Group. They had specific interest in House Bill 6487, which is a bill that Representative Datham that had put forward to look at the cost differences between public and private services. And obviously that group had specific interest in that. So I think this will be helpful. I don't know what your thoughts are. Any comment?
I think it's great. I mean,
It is great.
Because a lot of times, people will catch me cold, and if I didn't, study that particular bill that day, I may not know what's going on. So, I thought this would be most helpful.
I'm
Does-
curious, Shannon, is the Senate Bill 981 on there?
Let me scroll through. I don't know if they're in any kind of order here.
Looks like it's House bills first, and then it looks like, I don't know, yeah. It's not that important, but I was just kind of curious.
Look.
And it might be that DDS is not as interested in that bill because it doesn't really, it tangentially affects DDS because it's really meant for DSS.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that would be the reason why is the income limit's already higher on people on Medicaid waivers. So it's not an issue for people on Medicaid waivers.
Okay. All right, so we'll start, we'll send this one out to you tomorrow. I'll have Eunice start doing that on a routine basis, so you'll have that information. Now I'll just roll into our regular updates. We had talked about at our last meeting that public programs was joining back into the regional structure. So that means for our region, the West region, we will assume Lower Fairfield Center in Norwalk and Northwest Center, which is where I am right now in Torrington. And we only have one public group home in our region, which is in Watertown. So that will come under the region now. Hartford Regional Center will be, it's not an exact regional split, but that is going to go to the South region. And they will assume some public group homes as well in the North. That region will assume the 17 public group homes, and the resources have been split up. So some of my time right now has been really focusing on that transition, meeting with families, meeting with staff, touring facilities, getting more familiar, looking at the number of vacancies, and just learning the programs more. There's a vested interest in keeping the public programs open as an option for those that we have difficulty supporting in the private sector community. So those individuals that have higher needs are now being looked at for potential vacancies in those programs where we have adequate staffing. So it's pretty exciting. I've done public years and years ago. I mean, I grew up in it, but I've been out of it for a while. So it's interesting just getting out there and meeting folks and just trying to get my bearings where Unit A is in Norwalk and Unit 1 is in Torrington, and they're named after trees in Torrington. So that's interesting. Pine, spruce, maple, and oak. Very interesting. In Lower Fairfield, that center, we recently opened a medical unit that has all kinds of medical supports, nursing, our therapy teams. So we're looking at people, for instance, that require injectable insulin, individuals. We're hoping to hire a respiratory therapist, but that's been a challenge just in terms of what the state wages are compared to private hospitals. But we've taken some pretty intense people that couldn't be placed in the public sector, or people getting out of younger people in skilled nursing facilities or hospital for special care. So we will have 2 respite beds in there, and then the other beds will be for permanent. And, if they move on and progress, that's wonderful. If not, we'll continue to support them. So that's pretty new and exciting for.
Where is that, Shannon? That one?
Norwalk,
Norwalk.
at Lower Fairfield Center. So they basically took a unit and renovated it down there and are in the process. I think there's 4 people right now. There's a total of 12 beds, and 2 of those beds are short-term respite. So hopefully to get somebody in, get them back on their feet and back out to either the family home or wherever they need to go to next. So
That's good to know. Except
Yeah.
diabetes is so individual that, like school nurses like to treat all the kids the same. They almost killed mine about 5 times because they thought they knew how to do it. He was very brittle. So it always scared me. I've never taken him to a respite center or anything because of that reason. I mean, it's just too dangerous, but it's really nice to hear that they're looking at that because there's a lot of kids coming up the pike. Okay.
Yeah, and in the past, because the group homes are staffed by direct care staff and usually not very rarely by nursing staff in terms of someone that needs to, needs to be adjusted daily or, every 4 hours is a problem because they can't draw up and they can't inject. So it's a good thing. The other thing that I'm working on in the region is we finally had approval for, and I've talked about it here, we're just waiting for approval from OPM. We're going to be doing an RFP for 10 CLAs. There'll be 9 CLAs that will be supporting individuals that have challenging behaviors. And then one home is going to be a home for individuals that have need tracheotomy care. So it's probably the biggest RFP that I've ever had to be involved in. We've never done one this big, so or with this much funding attached. So it will be, hopefully a success, and hopefully we'll have providers that are interested in, bidding on them, which is always a worry given the private sector right now in terms of some of the dilemmas they're having with staffing. But some providers are in better positions than others, so hopefully we'll have a good turnout. So
Jen, and
we're working on that.
That's 9 CLAs in the West region?
There's going to be 3 in each region,
Oh, okay.
and 1 we are putting out. The home that will support individuals with tracheotomies will be put out as a central location. So that could end up in a variety of different places in a midpoint. But the West region will be facilitating the whole process in
Okay.
terms
Oh,
of
I see.
coordinating it. So, yeah, so that's exciting.
Hey, Shannon,
There's-
can you hear me? Question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Oh, I got it fixed. All right.
Well,
I had some rogue headphones that were taking the sound. So, does one agency have to take all 10 locations as part of the RFP, or could some say,
No.
hey, I'm smaller, I could do 3, and someone else would pick
or
up more?
1.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yes. Yeah, it is exciting. So, I anticipate we'll have everything tied up and posted in the next 2 weeks since the funding has been approved. And for the 9 homes for the individuals that do have some, behavioral challenges, those are individuals that are younger, a lot of our age outs, or individuals that are emergencies. So we have struggled with that, finding providers that can support those folks, as well as the opposite end, finding providers that can support individuals with intense medical needs. So I'll be excited to see what happens also with the home with the individuals that require tracheotomies and deep suctioning. So if you've read the newspaper lately and had the news on, we are currently in a slow down on filling positions. We are filling, there's a process for filling critical positions in our direct support line, our nursing staff, our direct care staff, and our public programs. The order that it will go in right now is seasonal positions. So any of the camps like Camp Harkness, Camp Q, which are in the other regions, lifeguard positions, those are being focused on now. Then direct care positions. Any position that had gotten an offer by March 21st in writing, such as a case manager or occupational therapist that wasn't doing direct services, those positions will be filled. But we are going into some difficult times right now. And hopefully it won't last long, but obviously some concerns, the supports type of staff, maintenance, clerical, non-direct care case managers, supervisory positions. So there's some concerns around that and how that's going to play out. We were initially hoping that it was going to just, ease up at the end of the fiscal year, which would end June 30th, but not clear about that right now. So more to come on that.
And this is not Doge.
No, I don't think so. I think it just has to related to our personnel service account. And it's not just DDS, it's all like corrections, DMS, all state agencies.
Oh,
Even
okay.
if you go on the DAS website that posts positions, you'll see there's really nothing new posted and they're kind of dwindling down. So we'll see what happens, but obviously concerned because we need all those positions for just general operations. GTI, we continue to meet with them on a routine basis. I think things are getting slightly better, but it depends who you talk to. But there's still a large amount of effort going into trying to resolve and work through those problems, but it seems that I'm hearing less complaints of recent. I don't know what you're hearing out there in the field.
What's the
I think
Charles,
subject
people are
you're
just
talking about
tired
now?
of complaining, Shannon. They're just tired of
GTI.
complaining.
DPI, what is that?
GTI,
G-
the
GT,
GTI. How you get
the fiscal
paid. How you
intermediary.
fiscal
people get paid.
intermediary that they hired, Mickey.
Excuse me?
The fiscal intermediary.
Got it.
Okay. And I can tell you from personal experience, in the beginning, it was just horrendous. It was like an email, like almost every day. I think we've slowed down, by the way, on our internet connection. If you may want to shut your video off. I think Shannon is frozen, actually.
Appears so.
Yeah. And so things seem to improve. And then, of course, this week, another issue. But yeah, just part of the frustrations of being a support person. I got ahead of the curve. I said, "Oh, there's an overlap." They emailed me back, said, "No, there is no overlap on the two aides." And then today I check and they go, "Oh, they're requesting a correction for an overlap." And then you look at the official documentation out on the employer's report, there is no overlap. So Karen, I think I've sort of thrown my hands up and I just email them all the time. That's all.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm in Torrington. It must be the service here.
We shut all our cameras off.
Oh,
We're all
No, I
clicking
didn't-
on and off, trying to salvage you.
I'm sorry. I don't
No, it's
know.
good.
I'm
You're
gonna
fine. I'm the last one with the video here, so.
I'm trying to get, I was trying to get on my phone, but then that wasn't working either, so.
No worries. And Shannon, I don't know if you saw my experience. I had a lot of issues with GT in the beginning, back and forth, which you probably, Joe Carvalho probably hates me at this point. And then it seemed to lighten up. Things seemed to go a little bit smoothly. By the way, their main issues were certainly when the holiday occurs. There's all sorts of issues around holidays for some reason, in terms of getting the pay in and getting approvals. And then, of course, this week, the wheels came off the wagon again. But as Karen mentioned, at this point, all I do is I just keep shooting emails out to them and saying, you said this, but it's not true. This is it. That's it. What's the story? Back and forth, and eventually it gets straightened out.
How long does it take to get straightened out usually?
Well, in the past, it would be you'd have to call and call and call, and then of course you can't get through, and
What do you
then
think?
then they would call you back a day later or 2 days later. So, for example, this Monday, I emailed them and said I saw an overlap in the two aides for one particular day. All right, they got back the next day and they said there is no overlap. That's what they told me. All right, great, no overlap. Must have been corrected. So, but then I go into the report today to check the payroll, and of course there's a correction being requested for the overlap that they say does not exist. That was corrected. So, they got back to me in a day, but with apparently either incorrect or wrong information. So now I'm got to get back to them again, and I'll hear from them on Monday. That's kind of the usually. So, by the way, sometimes I've called and you actually do get through. Pure happenstance, but sometimes you actually do get through.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But and I think it's like you said, it depends on who you talk to. Some people have more issues, and I was fine. For me, it was fine for a while, and then it's just this week. I'm sure it'll get straightened out.
Basically, that's it, what I have for updates right now. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Mickey, why don't you lead off with questions?
You could sense I had one on my mind. Well, I know, look, we're dealing with a federal government that, in my view, is out of control. And again, not being political, but we have to prepare as a state. I hope somebody's thinking about what happens if Medicaid gets block granted, or what happens if Medicaid is severely restricted in terms of the amount available, since all our waiver participants, as far as I know, are covered 50-50 by the state and the federal government. Have you, Shannon, heard any thoughts about plan Bs or any kind of how we're going to deal with it kind of thing? Or do we just wait until we know what's going on and then take it from there? I mean, I just got an email, which also affects our population, or I just got a text, the fundraising text that you get every 5 minutes, that Trump just slashed the Department of Ed. And, we need to do this, that, the other thing. But that Department of Ed funds a lot of kids with special needs in our school systems. So it's unsettling. And, seems in the almost 50 years I've been involved in advocacy in the state, this is probably most uncertain times we've faced. So are people in the state government talking about this problem, Shannon? And they're, where's that? What are the thoughts bouncing around?
I know when the new president took office, there was much discussion initially because a lot of us had a lot of concerns. Where is this all going to go? Is there a plan? I don't think so at this point. I think what Jordan has said, business as usual until we hear otherwise, which, we don't have a plan. And I think it depends where it goes and what's cut and how's it going to look. I know we have a lot of people in central office that are, they have their thumb in it and keeping their eyes, open. One of the concerns that had come when, the undocumented, how is it going to affect any of our families and individuals that were undocumented? What did that mean? People, where there was the concern about DCF and going into schools and how we were going to manage that. So we did get some direction on that in the event somebody shows up from one of the federal agencies at the day program or group home, how to manage that. But it appears that it's going to be situation by situation. So that's the best I can give you right now, Mickey. Sorry.
So this is Gil. So I think the intent is not to do away with programs down at the person level, but to get rid of the bureaucracy in Washington and to get all the money back to the states and let them manage the money that is being, given to them right now. I think when all this is sorted out, I don't think it's going to be as bad as some people are trying to make it.
I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about that at all.
I think you're going to have to wait and see. You have to give a person a chance.
Oh, no, not this person, Gil. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we could go back to 4 more years like where we were, and
I
was
I
could barely pay my
gladly
mortgage.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not do this. I don't think it's productive for us to have that. I think Shannon's correct that right now we don't know what's going to happen or what the effect of what may happen will be on Connecticut particularly. But we just should be aware that of the fact that it's a significant amount of federal money that supports the people with IDD. So it is something we should keep an eye on. And I hope, Gil, you're right that, it's the negative effect isn't going to be, or the effect won't be negative. But one thing that the Department of Education in particular, and CMS to some degree, has done in having the federal requirements of who, the federal law, for example, in school of Public Law 94-142, the right of public education regardless of disability, is a federally driven law. And Connecticut may have its own law in that regard. And I think it actually did predate the federal law in Connecticut back in the early 70s. But the federal government has provided some universality to some of the issues around the population specifically we're talking about. And I, for one, would hope that it doesn't go away. I think Connecticut will be okay because I think Connecticut has the right attitude and philosophy. But when it relates to the money, that would be a question. So the problem with block granting too, and I think from what I understand about it is, right now Medicaid supports, as Charles explained, is based on your disability, your level of function, your amount of money, your amount of income, and all that. But once you qualify for Medicaid, on the waiver or whatever it would be, it becomes an entitlement. When you block grant, it becomes an option. And that's something we should be aware of. So just saying.
The one
Well,
thing I would say,
Even it's not so much, my understanding is it's not so much as it's an option as if it's under our current plan, which is what makes it challenging funding wise, is that if you need, as you said, it's an entitlement. If you need it, you must get it. There is no choice. You must get what you need, and then have how they define need is its own discussion. Block grants say, okay, state, you get $10 divided among all of the people who need it as you see fit, which means if more people enter the population, the pie gets just cut down and cut down. So you don't necessarily, it is a big nightmare as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think, Marina, you explained it better than I did, because it is a question of no addition. What I was trying to get to was the fact that you might get 100 more people on the rolls doesn't necessarily, if it's block granted, mean you're going to get any more federal dollars.
Exactly.
That's
So one of the challenges, I was listening to a podcast where a governor of another state was being interviewed. So their numbers might be a little different from ours, but he was asked, okay, if Medicare or Medicaid is cut in your state, can you step in and make up the difference? And his answer was depressing, because it was something to the effect of, that right now, I'm probably getting these numbers wrong, we get, $70 billion in Medicaid from the federal government, and the state basically puts in $7 million or 700, 70 million. It was something like that. So if they did take away all of our Medicaid, let's just say, or cut it drastically, we're not even close to being able to make up that difference on a state level. And of course, this isn't just for people with disabilities. It's, people indigent, babies being born, da, 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 da. So anyway, I attended the protest, yesterday, and everyone was all fired up. However, our power is limited, so we shall see.
Yeah. So just real quick, I just sent to Eunice an article out of the Lucille Packard Health Foundation, and I think it's an interesting article. It doesn't take a side. I believe it doesn't take a side, but it explains Medicaid funding. And it doesn't talk anything about block grants. What it talks about is capitation rates or per capita caps. And then it also gets into lowering or eliminating the FMAP floor. So, I think Medicaid is its like own little beast, so to speak, in terms of how they calculate everything and what they do. block grants, I think, used to be from the days, I remember Richard Nixon looked at, let's give block grants to the state and they'll spend the money. Like on whatever it is they were giving block grants for, whether it was construction or education or whatever, let the states figure it out. So right now there is no upper limit on caps on the amount of federal Medicaid matching funds a state may receive. So there's no cap. So they're talking about a capitation rate, right? That's one way to control, from a budgetary perspective anyway, whether it's right or wrong, to control the spending. The other is something called the Federal Medical Assistance Percentage determines how a federal and state governments share Medicaid costs. So I think in Connecticut, it's a 50-50 share.
Right, it's
Right,
50 cents on the dollar. So every dollar we
Yeah.
spend, we get 50 cents back.
Yeah, but interestingly, if you're up in Montana, it's 83%. So you'll see in the article, it goes through how different states. So in this particular article, it says the impact of lowering or eliminating the FMAP floor would vary significantly by state. States that currently have an FMAP of 50% and would be impacted by lowering or removing the floor include California, New York, Colorado, Maryland, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Washington. However, states like Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, and Mississippi have FMAPs between 57 and 77% and would not be impacted by lowering or removing the floor. So you'll see that it goes through a whole bunch of different variations on a theme of how they can get to the Medicaid, what they want to try and accomplish. For people over, I want to say 19 to 55, or those who are not students, Medicaid work rules, things like that. So anyway, but we're not going to solve this issue here. And I think, Shannon, what I'm hearing you say, and I'm sure the state is aware of it, that, there's business as usual until there's something that you can actually plan on or do something with. Right? I mean,
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
They're not saying, oh, cut all the things and stop funding people. Right?
But-
There's nothing.
Correct.
Nothing along those.
So it's Marina, can I sort of add a side point, not about funding, but interestingly, one of the bills that's out there is to enshrine 504, section 504 of the ADA protections in our state statutes, which is, I think, a smart move to say, hey, if it blows up at the federal level, we will still have those protections at the state level. So there you go. There's some forward thinking going on, I guess.
And the state can step in, but I think, Marina, as you pointed out, the one governor, whatever state that was, everybody's got budgetary concerns, but it, I guess, depends on what state you're in. Illinois is not exactly all that flush with money, right? So, but I'm very grateful for Connecticut, by the way. I deal with parents in other states like Texas. The waiting list is inordinately long. I mean, this is for ID. We're not talking about the autism waiver. We're talking about just ID. They're very, very long waits. Florida is another state, very, very long wait to get any type of services. So
I think we were ranked the third best state in the country for our kids and our needs. And we argue all the time about it, but if we're third, can you imagine what Louisiana is?
I think those were drunk people writing that article, that list, clearly. Third? Really? No.
Third, yeah. Third. Holy cow.
Who was
Maybe
number
third.
one?
Maybe third in the amount of money we spent.
Massachusetts. Massachusetts
gotta
is
be
always number
Massachusetts.
one. Always number one.
Yeah.
anyway,
Sorry.
so I think Shannon has addressed that. And Shannon, you've completed your report, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. And then Eunice, what's next on the list? Is it old business, new business?
Yeah.
Yeah, new business, old business. Is there any new and or old? I guess I should combine that. Is there any new or old business for us to consider? But Shannon has raised her hand.
Just one comment. Charles, at your request, and I guess this would be considered new business for next month, the Able account topic.
Yes, I mean, if you're able to get somebody to discuss
Yes,
Able, that'd
I
be
have,
great.
I have somebody.
Okay,
Oh.
excellent. The more the merrier, as I say. Are there members of the public that would like to ask a question or make a comment or participate? Not hearing anyone. I assume that we're good on that. Oh, I have is it? I'm I saw a hand go up.
Ramirez.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And full name, please. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. It's Adriana Ramirez. I always show up
Adriana.
that way for some reason. I just I'm from Connecticut Family Support Network and just wanted to remind everyone that our One Voice conference, our annual conference is coming up April 24th. It'll be in North Haven from 9 to 2. It is a free event for parents and caregivers to come network. We will have resource tables and some breakout sessions. I will share the flyers with Eunice so she can send them out to the committee. And I invite everyone. It's a great time every year.
Thank you.
All right. One last comment. By the way, my Oak Hill, my daughter had an Oak Hill evaluation. They're the assistive technology people, and they did a very nice job. They came to her house. They did an evaluation. They looked at door locks and cameras and sensors and sensors for her clothes because she's a bolter, runner, whatever you want to say. From that perspective, no idea of concept of safety. Opens the refrigerator door too much, but then I think we all do. Yeah. But now the alarm goes off so we can hear it say, oh, okay, she's raiding the refrigerator again.
You
but
can
they
hear
did a
it when
nice
you
job.
rate it too.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Yeah, exactly. It's like, uh-oh, everybody knows. But they did a very nice evaluation and if you have the ability to access that grant for the person you're taking care of, it certainly would. It's beneficial in my mind. I shall now be quiet, and
Yeah.
we now have to move on to, well, if there's nothing else, then a motion to adjourn.
I move to
Anyone?
adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Be well, folks.
All right. Everyone take care. See you
Good
next week.
meeting.
you.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.